The 2021 Nissan Maxima is a four-door sedan that's related to the Altima, but costs more and has a standard V6. It's handsome and sporty in its intent, which makes it a rival for cars like the Acura TLX as well as the Altima, the Toyota Camry, and the Honda Accord. A new 40th anniversary edition adds red leather upholstery and gloss black trim to the most expensive model. Meanwhile, the base S and SL Maximas have been dropped, increasing the base price. The Maxima tailors the Altima's business casual wear into a tracksuit. It's sleek but large, exaggerated in its details from the deep V-neck grille to the chunky haunches. It's one of the tent poles for Nissan's floating canopy styling doctrine, and it's a good-looking car, with a cockpit that wraps toward the driver and presents them with real controls that aren't buried in touchscreens. The Maxima drafts a 300 horsepower 3.5-liter V6 for power, but saddles it with a continuously variable automatic transmission (CVT) that powers the front wheels. It's a recipe for mediocrity, though it's certainly quick. The Maxima drivetrain drones and isn't particularly responsive, even when fitted with paddles that flip through programmed shift ratios. It fares better with its absorbent ride and reasonably quick steering, particularly in SR spec, which gets 19-inch wheels, beefier suspension tuning, and those paddle shifters. It's not the blast from the past we wanted, but it's fun to drive nevertheless. The Maxima has seats for 4 big adults, and the front chairs have lots of long-distance support. Head and leg room are lacking in back, and the trunk is on the small side, but the 2021 Maxima scored well in federal and insurance industry crash tests. The $37,915 Maxima SV has the lowest base price, but it still comes with 18-inch wheels, an 8.0-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, leather upholstery, and navigation. The $43,075 recommended Maxima SR is sport-tuned, with 19-inch wheels and a stiffer suspension. We wouldn't call the Nissan Maxima subtle by any means, but the bold shape works well, and the interior's put together in a visually interesting way. It's a 7 here. With its large V-necked grille growing larger with each generation, it's hard to miss the Nissan part of the Maxima equation. The LED lighting accents a shape that was distinctive for the upmarket sedan a few years ago, but has since been applied to the Altima and Sentra sedans. The blacked-out rear pillars make the roof appear to float, a nifty visual trick that's probably at the end of its shelf life. SR Maximas have black wheels and trim and look the sporty part. The other Maximas still look distinctive and fresh, thanks to lots of muscular sculpting of the fenders. The interior's slightly more dated in feel, but a flat-bottom steering wheel and bright accents keep it looking fresh. Nissan wraps the Maxima cabin in good materials on the remaining models and hasn't moved major controls into touchscreen menus. We like the Maxima's unburied knobs and buttons, thanks, and the way the controls cant toward the driver like they do in a GTR supercar. The V6 engine in the Maxima sets it apart from its less expensive kin. It's powerful. The 3.5-liter V6 makes 300 horsepower and 261 pound-feet of torque. It's tied to a continuously variable automatic transmission (CVT), though, and that zaps the entertaining side of that familiar engine. What works well in a Z Coupe gets smothered by the responses of the CVT as it moves pulleys and belts to simulate a cogged gear automatic. There's a relentless economy car feel, not sport sedan zest, when it lumbers and drones through its rev range, but it's still enough to catapult the car to 60 miles per hour in less than 7 seconds. With the Maxima SR come paddle shift controls that pick from 8 preset ratios, but the equation's already solved for mediocrity. The V6 pitches it above the Altima, but does it make it sporty? The Maxima's best asset, actually, is its smooth ride. It's not quite sharp enough to be dubbed a sport sedan, but the Maxima does have reasonably quick steering to go with its absorbent ride. In the SR, the stiffer suspension tuning and upgraded brakes turn up the wick a notch or two, but at more than $40,000 we can think of a handful of sport sedans that are admittedly smaller but far more engaging to drive.